Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Kris from Warfect to talk about Spectre of Devastation, out November 13th on. How's it going?
It's great. It's great. Apart from this COVID situation going on.
Yeah, crazy times we're living in, that's for sure. There is a little bit of a Spectre of Devastation, if you will, in the air.
Yes. Yeah.
Going into this album, did you guys have any goals or aspirations as far as what you wanted out of this record?
Well, we wanted to follow in the same vein as Exoneration Denied from 2013 and Scavengers from 2016. And we have evolved as musicians and music creators. So obviously we wanted to do an even better record than ever before. And we also wanted to get a little more dynamic to the album and to the individual tracks as well. And I think we succeeded with that. But we wanted straight to the point thrash metal. That's what we wanted, and that was the goal. I hope we achieved it.
No, I think that is like obvious. Like anybody who listens to the record, they're not going to be wondering what are they listening to. You know, it's straight to the point.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel pressure coming into this album, considering this is your debut release with Napalm Records?
Well, yes and no, because this album was recorded in January of this year. So we had a finished product, mastered and everything in spring. And then we sent the final product to a select few labels, and Napalm was one of the labels. And happily, they responded very quickly, and we signed with them. So we didn't feel any pressure while doing this album. So everything was ready album-wise when we signed to Napalm this summer. But yeah, sure, you could say that the pressure is building up, so to speak, because it's a huge step for us, of course. Like coming from the underground and signing with Napalm, and now we have the platform and foundation to reach more people, and we're thrilled to be on this journey with them. So it feels great. Yeah.
How do you look at an album like, because I think this album, there's a lot of things to digest. It may seem like it's very simple at the surface, but once you start listening to the album, it's not perhaps as simple as it appears to be. So how do you, as a band, how do you guys approach the creative process behind making an album like this?
It usually works like Fredrik is sending me and Manne a track over the internet, and usually it has multiple guitars on it, virtual drums. So it's usually a full song without vocals and no bass. And then we listen to it, and we take it to the next rehearsal, and we start like collaborating, moving things around, trying out different choruses and stuff. And if I have a finished lyric that would fit the song, we try it out, and then we work on the song on the rehearsals, as well as Fredrik working in his home studio, changing bits and parts, making it better. And the final changes might even come when we record the song in the studio. It's not unusual. We do some final touches just to make it even better if we can come up with something that needs to be on. But usually Fredrik writes all the music and I write all the lyrics. And he would like to write the music based on the lyrics, but I'm usually slow, so I'm usually giving him the lyrics afterwards. Maybe we should change that.
You said like the demos were, it's pretty much the finished product without the bass and vocal, so it's pretty much like an instrumental version of And Justice for All.
Yeah, you could
Something
say that.
along the lines.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about this record was the production of the album, like that old school sound that this record has. And it's so, It's such a big part of the album. It's a big part. I think obviously it impacts the sound first and foremost because that's where you notice it. But I think it impacts everything. It impacts the vocals. It impacts the lyrics, the construction of the record, the construction of the songs, track listing. Everything has this old school aroma that permeates through it. Is that a huge part of who this band is?
I would say so, yes, because we're influenced and inspired by the stuff we listen to right now and the stuff we listened to when we grew up. And we listen to a lot of thrash metal from late 80s to early 90s. And when we grew up, we listened to me and Fredrik, we have our roots in black metal. So we've been both playing black metal, and we bring in those influences as well. But the sound wise, yeah, we wanted to sound like something like around 90, late 80s, 90, you know, but with a little bit of a modern touch, so to speak. So we don't just want to do the old school things all over again. We want to give it, spice things up and give it our own sound, so to speak.
I thought that it also has a little bit of that underground sound and feel to it, because that sort of production, it's a little bit more raw. It almost feels like you're listening to a demo, or you're listening to like a jam session, and that adds a little bit of atmosphere to the whole record. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think if we would have aimed for a more modern, like fat, you know, the like a wall of sound, that wouldn't fit the music. It wouldn't be good. It would be like a negative thing for the music, I think, because the music and the sound need to go hand in hand. And I think on this album it does. So I think it sounds great. Yeah.
You mentioned black metal there, and I felt that listening to this album, you could really hear a little bit of the influences from that black metal on the album, perhaps more on the vocals. Do you, how much of that influence do you see, and do you see it being the vocals, the aspect of the album that perhaps gets influenced by black metal the most out of everything?
I don't know, but of course we're influenced by black metal because we listened to it while growing up. We listened to it pretty much on the black metal heydays of Swedish and Norwegian black metal. We were really into black metal, so of course Fredrik is bringing that stuff in because I think this is the way he sings. So it will be this way either way. So but yeah, we're influenced by black metal, but also, you know, Sepultura and that kind of, you know, vocals. But obviously Fredrik is not sounding like Max Cavalera, but yeah.
It's definitely, there's a little bit of that rawness into the vocals, almost like they're coming sometimes out of the back, pushing themselves all the way into the front. It adds a lot of power to the overall already, like, I mean, the tracks already are powerful. You guys create songs that are pedal to the metal, and on this record, you really feel the devastation, or the spectrum of devastation, as you progress through the album. How much of an impact are those vocals and that specific style on that overall power that the songs have?
I think the vocals is very important. I think the way Fredrik sings is very fitting for the music, and like I said, this is the way he thinks. He sings. So I don't know if we could do it any other way, even if we wanted. But we want it like this, and this is his way of singing. So but this kind of vocals is. Yeah, it gives the sound a little more power, I think. Yeah.
One of the things that when I was listening to the album that I felt was that, and I mentioned this earlier, that at first glance when you listen to the record, it feels at times that the album is very simple, but at the same time when you start getting more into it, that perhaps comes from the sound direct, like you're direct with your approach. Do you see that being the case? Perhaps that direct approach gives you a misrepresentation of how much work and how many layers are going into the overall composition of the sound?
That might be the case, because I've heard it before. People have said that this at least once before, somebody said that it sounds simple. and I don't think it is simple. And we don't write music just to make it complicated. We write music because we think it's good, and it doesn't necessarily need to be complicated to be good. But I don't think it's that simple. No, but people might perceive it that way. Yeah, maybe that's because of the power and the force and starting off with Pestilence. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I felt perhaps the aggression and the intensity that the album has. It's so overpowering that you just feel like everything else is just straightforward. But I felt that the more I listened to the record, the more I went through it, the more I realized that it was not as straightforward as it appears. It's a little bit deceiving.
Yeah, I think so. I think it has nuances. Yeah.
Is there one element on this record that is sitting behind the driver's seat, or do you feel like the album is worth for the whole?
To me, well, I think because, like I said before, we feel the dynamics of the album is important, and also the dynamics of each individual track. And me personally, I like the fast and the furious stuff, like Pestilence and full metal, like Head On, thrash metal, but also the left to rot mid-tempo style of music, because that gives us the dynamic we need, and that's not only for the audience when you listen to the album, it's also when you play live. So I like all the songs on the album, but Pestilence is that's close to my heart, because I like that kind of rawness that song has. Yeah.
Do you looking back at this album? I mean, you've had now some time to perhaps listen to it and digest it, and start to see the forest from the trees, which is sometimes something that doesn't happen when you're so engulfed in the creation of the album. But looking back at the creation of this record and how you guys put it together, was there any moment that becomes an outstanding moment in your mind in terms of learning something new and allowing yourself to evolve as an artist?
I don't think I can pinpoint a moment, and that might have to do with this album. We released the previous album, Scavengers, in 2016, so 4 years passed. So I don't know exactly when we started writing songs for this album, but it might have been in 2017 or something. So in the meantime, we did a couple of European tours and a couple of mini tours as well. So I can't pinpoint a specific like writing moment or a moment that defined this album specifically. But I think overall we've evolved as a band, as musicians, as live performers, and music writers, obviously. As much as we can of the production and recordings as we can ourselves. And I think Fredrik, who is doing all the producing and all the mixing, and this time he didn't do the mastering, but he usually does. I think he's learning very much all the time in this recording process and also writing process, because he's the one writing the music. But I can't pinpoint a specific moment. No.
One last question for you. With the record around the corner as far as the release date is concerned, and like you said earlier, now with a much bigger platform, the chance of reaching a much larger audience, what are your expectations for this album, and what do you hope to achieve with this record?
Well, obviously we want to people to know us or know about us. People tend not to know about us, and that's because we're coming from underground. And this time we with this new cooperation with Napalm Records, we have the possibility to reach people for real. And with that, I hope the possibility to we also signed to Napalm events, and it's unfortunate it's one of these off years, but we hope to be able to do much more touring and live shows on prominent festivals and stuff, and also being able to reach the press the way Napalm Records is enabling us to is very important for us, because we need to get on the metal map, so to speak, and not only to be an underground band. And I think that's the possibility with Napalm Records. So I'm hoping, I have a lot of hopes with this collaboration. Yeah.
Well, Kris, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with the release on November 13th, Spectre of Devastation. I mean, you guys couldn't have picked a better title for 2020.
It was a coincidence. I don't know if it's a happy or an unhappy one.
You guys picked the best title. When I read the title, I was like, oh my God, this defines 2020. When I think of 2020, I think about a Spectre of Devastation. That's exactly what comes to my mind. So you guys hit the nail on the head with that one. So Kris, thank you very much for your time. Best of luck with this release. You guys have an amazing album on your hands, and let's hope that you're not going to be just underground legends. You're going to become legends, because this album has a lot of potential.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.